Hello, everybody. My name is Bill. Welcome back to the NCAA Football 2007 Dynasty Mode series, where we are going through evaluating every single team by conference. And as you can see, this week's episode is on the Big Ten, which has some big controversy because, as you can see, Penn State is the Big Ten champs. But at the beginning of the championship week for the conference weeks, they had Wisconsin as the champs. As you can see, both of them are 7-1 in conference play. They both lost to Ohio State, but since neither one of them faced each other, the game just apparently decided to give it to Penn State 1 week after they gave it to Wisconsin. I don't know what's the reasoning behind that, the coding behind that, if there's like some sort of thing, because if we're going by points forced, then Wisconsin easily has that one. They have that one by 44. Or if we're going by points allowed, Penn State wins that by 63, I believe, if my math is correct on that. Let's see. 159, 70. No, they got by 67, I believe. Win streak, yeah, I mean, but I don't know how the game determined that. But we are going to go ahead and evaluate each team. And of course, we'll start off with the champs here in Penn State. As you can see, their record was 12-1. Gotta say, their best win happened in Week 12 at Michigan. You're gonna hear that a lot. Either a team's best win or worst loss happening against Michigan. Excuse me there. Week 12 at Michigan, 31-20. And their only loss was to Ohio State in Week 5, 21-14. A grade for them was a defense that was elite all year round. And their improvements, they just need to recruit some offensive players because as you know, the defense may win championships, including the Big Ten championship. But there are some times where you need to have the offense kind of take over a bit and let your defense relax. And my thoughts for Penn State is they were the team I would have chosen to win the Big Ten because of that defense. It was the best in the conference, one of the best in the nation. Hardly anyone could move against them. Although considering us half of Michigan's points allowed came against me, I'd say I could have easily moved against their offense. I mean their defense, but hey, you know. I think they have the defensive ability to continue into next year with that. But my question is, will the offense wake up? Will they be able to continue what they're doing this year and winning the Big Ten and winning it back-to-back years? That's why I think they should go after some offensive players in recruiting so they could be even more dominant next year. And of course, next is now Wisconsin. Wisconsin, who finished the year 11-2. Their best win was the week before Penn State's against number 17 Minnesota, 45-7, and their worst loss was in Week 7 to Ohio State, 56-39. Now, granted, they just lost their bowl game to Florida State, but Florida State's at least a pretty decent team. So, well, they're a good team as well, so I picked the one where the score has been more lopsided. There was a few of these I went into just a bit more detail on some of their greats. Like for Wisconsin, they got a great rushing attack. Well, I'd say an elite rushing attack because, I mean, heck, their starting running back had 6.6 yards per carry on 310 attempts for 2,044 yards and 29 touchdowns. Like, if I wasn't playing these games, he probably would have won the Heisman, in all honesty, because you don't see those numbers often. And they forced a lot of fumbles, best in the conference in that. The only improvement I have to say is their passing game. I mean, their quarterback did pass for 2,184 yards with 20 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. But their top receiver had 560 yards. Now, let's just go and take a look at, for comparison, as you can see, I was last looking at Indiana because they finished at the bottom. We're going to take a look at my team, McNary Central, which, like I said, I'm going to eventually talk about them. Like, for example, like, the two closest guys were my second highest overall wide receiver in Reggie Guerrero, who had 523 yards on 28 catches, and Andrew Swaggart, the best tight end in the country, had 619 yards on 33 attempts. Now, Reggie, though, has been improving, though. Hopefully he'll stay. But I might go do another video, go a bit more in-depth on McNary Central, but that's another video for another time. As let's get back to talking about good old Wisconsin. Let's see here. There we go. But yeah, 559 yards. Not something you want to see out of a top wide receiver. So yeah, they need to focus more on their passing game next year. And like I said, the game originally made the Badgers the Big Ten champions and then gave it to Penn State, which really confused me. And then again, doesn't take that much to confuse me anyways, in all honesty. Both these teams meet next year. Mark my words, I'm making it a key matchup whenever it happens. The thing they need to do is improve their passing offense. And they can't be one-dimensional and hope to have the same success next season. I say they will improve and maybe prove why they should be the Big Ten champions. I'll just leave it on this screen as we go from Wisconsin to Ohio State, who also finished 11-2. Their best win was that Week 7 win against Wisconsin, and their worst loss was Week 13 versus Michigan, 31-26. They have an elite offense, top-notch rushing defense, and they forced the most turnovers out of anybody in the conference, which is saying something. Although with all that, they somehow finished third in the Big Ten because of a loss to Michigan, and that loss to Michigan and also a loss to Minnesota as well. And I say their improvements is just beat Michigan. You beat Michigan, you had the Big Ten in hand, and they would have been the team on top. And I will have discussed first over Penn State and Wisconsin. And I'd say this team should have been Big Ten champions if it weren't for an upset loss to Michigan. They will improve and dominate again. If they could just beat Michigan and maybe Minnesota, they'll be the ones hoisting the Big Ten championship without any chance of controversy like what happened this year between Wisconsin and Penn State, as I've stated a couple times in this episode. But it was a bit of a controversy because of the fact that, the game says this person wins the conference, and then the next week says, oh, this team wins the conference. And whoever this M. Bush guy is for Ohio State on defense, he's probably going to be leaving because I'm guessing he's a linebacker, because 72 tackles, 5 sacks, and 6 interceptions kind of gives me that clue, and he was probably the anchor of that defense as well. And now we have 2, 3, We are now at our fourth ranked team in the Big Ten. And just so you know, there are 6 of them. Like, literally, like all 6 of these teams here, at one point during the season, had a chance to win this conference. Just so you know, that's how close and how important each and every game in the Big Ten can be. As we go from Ohio State to Iowa, who went 10-3. Their best win was in Week 13 at Minnesota, 31-24. Their worst loss, in my opinion, was in Week 9 against Ohio State, 59-7. And I say they have a great offense, especially passing. They got a lot of sacks and are very efficient on 3rd and 4th downs. I just say they gotta keep the confidence up after they lose a game, because those 3 losses all happened in a row after the Ohio State loss. And like I said, Iowa was a great team this year. They were unbeaten, had all the momentum in the world, and it felt like nothing could stop them. Then they ran into a brick wall called the Ohio State Buckeyes. After that, they fell into a little slump, losing 3 in a row before picking up another one. Sadly, by that time, it was too little too late to claim the Big Ten championship. They just need to keep their own confidence up after a heartbreaking loss and get back on track quick. That, in my opinion, is what's going to make this team from great to elite. You know, and maybe, just maybe, next season, Iowa can be the Big Ten champions instead of Penn State, instead of Wisconsin, instead of Ohio State. You know, the names you're used to hearing all the time in the Big Ten championship conversation. You know, Penn State, Wisconsin, Ohio State, Michigan, you know. And some of those names still ring true today. You know, like Ohio State, Wisconsin, Penn State. Michigan, not so much really. But the other 3, definitely. And now we go from Iowa to Minnesota, who I just said was Iowa's greatest win. And for Minnesota, they also finished 10-3. Their best win, in my opinion, was that Week 8 victory over Ohio State, 32-21. Their worst loss, though, was Week 11 at Wisconsin, 45-7. They got a great rushing game. They scored plenty of times and had a top-notch defense. Then again, this is the Big Ten. There's definitely going to be a bunch of top-notch defenses, because Big Ten's a lot about defense. The Big 12, which we will get to the next few weeks, at least next week, if I could be able to squeeze in both divisions into one video. Well, squeeze in both divisions during the weekend. Big 12 is more known for offense, and that's even more so nowadays. I say their improvements should be that they should pass the ball a bit more, or because a quarterback throwing 2,400 yards in an entire season, it should be something that you're really proud of. You know? Also they gotta force more turnovers. Golden Gophers were performing better than I thought they would this year. I mean, I didn't have really any expectations for them, but they still did real well. A 10-win season, almost finishing inside the top 25, is impressive. They mainly had a defense that keeps them in games, especially holding teams to about 150 yards a game. And in the passing side of things, they just need to do better in the passing game themselves, and they could be in contention again for the Big Ten championship. And now we will go to the final ranked team of the Big Ten, Michigan, as the Wolverines finished the year 9-4, with their best win, of course, being in week 13, my bad, at Ohio State, 31-26. Their worst loss, I'd have to say, was against me. He by a final score of 238 to nothing. I mean, they're a great young, talented team. As you can see, I think a lot of their people, like I looked at their roster and they got a very, very talented roster, a very young roster that's going to improve immensely, especially with how good Michigan is. And their improvements, McNary Central, bad. Like fire, bad. All of a sudden I became Frankenstein. The Wolverines suffered a brutal loss to McNary Central after beating up on Division 1 AA Southeast. They just don't need to put the Bobcats on their schedule. The shocking loss to Northwestern didn't help much either. As they were out of championship contention. Well, Big Ten championship contention, but still championship contention nonetheless. A big upset to Ohio State helped end the year off, though they hope to carry that momentum of that victory over Ohio State into next season. Michigan State is the team we are at now, and the Spartans finished the year 8-5 with the best win of their season being week 4 against Notre Dame, 31-13. I think I had that one being one of my early key games. Excuse me there. And saying that Notre Dame was going to win that one, and Michigan State proved me wrong there. Their worst loss was against Michigan, 31-10, back in week number 9. They're a great team. They're the team that's on the rise. I mean, you take a look at their quarterback, Johnson. I mean, he threw for nearly 3,000 yards, but you don't need that kind of touchdown-interception ratio. They got a good running back, and they had nearly 1,000-yard receiver. So, this is a team that's on the rise. And they beat Mickey in their bowl game, as you can see, 24-14. But they just gotta find the balance. As my thoughts for the Spartans is, this year didn't go as well as they would have hoped, but they are slowly improving. They do have a difficult road to the championship contention, though. Teams like Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State aren't going away that easily. I'd say it'll be some time, but they should be at 10 wins next year if they do their schedule right and the players improve well enough and they just have the right schemes to be able to make 10 wins. I mean, they got 8. Who says they can't get 10? Now we go to Northwestern, and as you can see, big difference. Michigan State had nearly 78,000 average attendance. We go to Northwestern, who had 28,000 in attendance. Northwestern, as you can see, finished 4-8. I'd say their best win was week 11 against Michigan, 24-20. There they are again, Michigan. Michigan just seems to be the topic of the Big Ten, apparently, because that's all I seem to be talking about, a lot of these best win, worst loss things. The worst loss game, though, at week 10 at Minnesota, 41-7. I'd say the greatest thing about Northwestern is they have a young coach named Charlie Nassauwender, and he's just got to come up with better schemes, got to find better ways to get the team to get on a roll, I mean, they got a 1,000-yard rusher, but at the same time, you need to find other weapons other than Castorani. Because, yeah, sure, your quarterback threw nearly 2,000 yards, which, for a team that's on the rise is a good thing, but you need more than about half your yards going to one guy. You know, I say Northwestern didn't do as well as I thought they might have done because I think in my first bottom 10 I said that this team would have improved the most out of everybody. Boy, was I proven wrong in a way because it turned out that Miami was the one that said to bounce back. Going from 1-2, 1-3 when I did that episode, all the way to being 9-4 and making the conference championship. But they did as good for what they had. That one will easily look good on Coach Nelson Winter's young career. But how far can he go? How far can he be able to actually do? Because he got 3 conference wins, though. But the thing is, they kind of need to improve a bit more. They need to get to those 6 wins, those 7 wins, get those bowl game appearances. Look better for recruits to be able to come to Northwestern. It's like, yeah, sure, we're one of the best academic schools in the country, but we like you to come also play football for us. You know? Will the school keep Charlie for longer, or will he try to look for someone new? Next season should definitely be a proving point for him, because I don't know if he'll be able to last much longer if he keeps putting up 4-8 seasons and not getting good recruits. And now we go to the next 4-8 team in Illinois, who just beat Northwestern. Their record is also 4-8. Their best win that I could find came against Nevada in Week 7, 38-10. And their worst loss was Week 12 against Ohio State, 45-17. I looked through their roster and they look like they're an exciting team. Well, that young team that could be exciting to watch. But the thing is, they just need to perform better. And Illinois isn't a powerhouse by any means. But they have 29 freshmen. Like I said, I looked at their roster because none of their stats looked all that great. Yeah, sure. Green had about 2,500 yards. But again, that touchdown to interception ratio is what's gonna kill you in the end. And besides, how do you have a running back that has 719 yards and only 3 touchdowns? It's the performance. Like I said, it's the performance issues here. They need to start improving because Lovie Smith most likely on the chopping block with his performance. If he doesn't do well, then they will find someone better. I don't know why in my script I said they will find someone better, because why would you try to find someone when you're trying to find someone? But anyways, we now go from 4-8 to 2-10. We start with Purdue. And attendance-wise, we go from 28,000 to 44,500 to about 41,000. Although since we've been on the subject of quarterbacks, like 19 interceptions when Purdue's. Yes, excuse me there. Maybe I shouldn't have had pizza before I started recording this. But Purdue's best win was in Week 13 against Indiana, 35-28, as you can clearly see right there. Their worst loss, though, came in Week 4 against Oregon, 69-7. Their only grade is that I put Drew Brees as their head coach, legendary quarterback that graduated from Purdue. Although, Drew, you might want to might want to develop your quarterback a bit better. Because he's not looking like the next Drew Brees. He's looking more like the next Brett Favre. And he's the head coach of Southern Miss. Which I will talk about whenever I get to Conference USA. And I say their improvements is the development. And Drew Brees is the head coach here is looking for some sort of improvement from the team. Problem is they aren't improving as well as he'd like. It should be interesting to watch for the next few years though, so I say watch out if they start winning a few more games next year, because overall I say that they could be in contention given the right development and the right amount of time, you know. And with Indiana, I say, well, first off, they went 2-10 as well. Their best win was an upset victory over Virginia, 31-28. I say that because they didn't do so well in conference play, I can tell you that much, going winless. And their worst loss out of all 10 losses came against Iowa at 49-3. They are great at basketball, and for them, football in general is what they need to improve. And Indiana was one of the weekly bottom 10 teams, and they were near the bottom of every Big Ten category. Their loss to Purdue is what had them in the bottom of the Big Ten. I hope they improve, but I don't see that happening anytime soon, in all honesty. I say they will remain down here for a few years. They will have to suffer staying down there at the bottom. Oh, granted, they got a 1,000-yard rusher, which is always a good thing to see. But I don't think they're going to be able to improve. The thing is, they're surrounded by too many good teams, too many great teams. Excuse me there. Like, teams like, of course, Michigan, Minnesota, Iowa, Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Penn State. Like, those teams they have to challenge with enough. Then you got a couple teams on the rise like Michigan State and maybe Northwestern and Illinois that's trying to find a groove. I mean, the only other team I can see sticking with them in the bottom is Purdue, and that's about it. But other than that, I just don't see really any possible way for Indiana to start improving quick. But that's enough about the Big Ten. Like I said, that whole big controversy with the Big Ten championships. And you see, this is before they had the whole Big Ten championship nowadays. And of course, that could even brought some debate on who should actually represent which side. But that's it for the Big Ten. And we don't have to talk about the Big Ten until next year. Well, next virtual year, whenever that actually comes around, depends on whenever I'm able to get to the scripts. But next time around, we will start talking about the Big 12. Well, we will start with the North and with the South. And then we'll go East and West. Well, first, Big East, and then the Conference USA East, and then West. So that's all the plans for the next few times, which with the Big 12, there's only 3 teams that are ranked, which is kind of surprising. But I will talk about that a bit more when we get to them. Until then, I will see you all next time.